Welcome to the Ask Ezra Intimacy Coaching Podcast, a peek behind the curtain of some of the most intimate conversations that people have with Ezra as an intimacy coach. Join us for a session already in progress.
And we're both working as intimacy coaches, is that right? Or do you call yourself a sex coach?
I go back and forth. It just depends on what my client feels more comfortable saying. Some people aren't comfortable saying sex coach. Sometimes easier to say intimacy and communication coach.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah. I when I say sex coach, I always think people are going to assume that we're like, all right, now cock your hips to the right and keep pumping. Now faster. You know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah.
It's not really about the stroke. It's about the deeper stuff, you know. It's about showing up authentically and being present and, you know, holding space
Sex
for your
is
partner.
just the base problem. You know, that's the base issue that people come to us with. And then we dig a little deeper and the client digs even deeper. And then we find the transformational issue, quote unquote, to actually expand on. And that's what helps reevaluate, change, transform their sex life. And like you said, it's authenticity, communication. That's just it. It's being able to communicate with yourself first and then to your partner or partners.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And I love, let's keep talking about, you know, your experience as a sex coach and maybe how it's different from mine, but I'd love to sort of pick your brain a little bit and get a different perspective, because I think people hear my perspective all the time, but I'd love to make it more diverse here. And then halfway through, we'll do a somatic exercise. So you're not totally off the hook, you know, but
I'm excited. Don't worry.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's like your favorite part of offering this service of intimacy coaching?
Honestly, my favorite part is watching my clients take back their own power. And who doesn't love that about anything that they do? You know, if you can help someone, like you said, just one person hears your message, you've changed someone and their relationships with people around them, but most importantly, themselves. I work with a lot of individuals who have sexual shame, and they're so embarrassed and so hindered by it, by their kinks, their quirks, their nuances or picadillos, whatever you want to call it, things that they love, things that they're turned on by, and allowing them a safe space to voice it, say, I like X, I want to start doing Y, give me Z any day over A, you know, and feeling safe enough, being that safe place for someone. That's what I love.
Yeah, being a safe space.
They can come talk to us, and then they've broken the dam, you know. Now they can start trying to practice with their partners, with their family, with their friends, doing whatever it is they have to do to be themselves. That's what I love. Watching the dam burst.
Yeah, watching the dam
How
burst.
about you?
Yeah, well, and I was just going to say, I love how you mentioned holding space, right? Being that safe space. I think that's so important. And what's really powerful about intimacy coaching is we can model these relationships where people can come in and they have had a lifetime of maybe codependent relationships or abusive relationships, or just everything's always lukewarm. And then they come into the room with us and we can model a more positive relationship. We can model that really exciting and really supportive experience, right?
Oh, 100%. And one of my favorite clients came in and she was like, I'm great in bed. I've had nothing but excellent experiences. I want even better. And I got to do the work first. And I was like, this is going to be a blast.
I
Let's
love
go on
that.
a field trip.
Yeah, I love that energy. Yeah, I love that energy. And I think that's super important too, is because so much of our experience in the Western world is addressing dysfunction, right? Like we don't get help until it's a problem. But what if we went and got help when things were good and we could help them become great, right?
Exactly.
It's almost
I
like,
loved it.
yeah, sexual actualization. This is like phrase I'm playing with a little bit. But I want to answer. You turned the question back on me, and I love that. And so I want to answer it. Like, what's my favorite part? And I think it's similar to you. I really feel that like dam breaking energy. But what I love is people come to me often frustrated. Often like, I don't know how to get from point A to point B. I know I'm in point A. I know I need to be in point B. How do I get there? And it's not that I like come up with all the solutions, but I create this space where we can talk about it critically, and we can have this constructive feedback and really like brainstorm about like, how do we get where we need to be, and how do we make markers so that we could celebrate along the way, and then there at some point they see point B. They can actually see the path in front of them, and there's this excitement that it just sets my soul on fire, right? And it's like, I love this feeling that people get when they realize something that they thought they were stuck with is a choice and is changeable, right? And I never said it's easy. And you don't snap your fingers and all of a sudden you don't beat yourself up. But the idea that, hey, I don't have to beat myself up. I don't have to talk to myself this way. I don't have to get shy. I don't have to feel ashamed. These are things I can work on. That's magic. Yeah.
Oh, it makes me so happy to even think about it. Like, oh, it's like the butterflies, the bubbles in your heart. Like, oh, it's invigorating. It's energizing. It's almost like an adrenaline rush. I slightly feel guilty because I get so excited for working with clients. And I'm like, we're going to get to create an action plan.
Like, don't be guilty.
So selfish.
Don't be guilty. Yeah, no, right. I think I love like Brene Brown's definition of guilt is like when your character doesn't match up with your actions, right? So like Brene Brown would say that like guilt is not necessarily unproductive. Shame is totally unproductive, but guilt can be like, I missed our appointment. That's not how I want to be. I'm feeling bad. I want to make it up to you, right? So there's productive reframe. Yeah, there's productive guilt out there, but that sounds like I don't think you should feel guilty at all for being so excited. I think, yeah, get everything you want out of that session, and people will notice. Okay, so what is challenging? What have you found to be maybe the most or one of the most challenging components of offering these services?
I feel as if talking about it in general, when people ask you what you do, I used to be a CPA, so the first thing I want to do is just conform and make everyone feel comfortable and say, oh, I'm a CPA, but it's like, that didn't set my soul on fire. I'm a sex and intimacy coach. I'm getting my certification in kink. I do all this fun stuff, and I feel like that's the hardest part, is translating how much I love what I do so people can understand it and they're not off put by it immediately, because like you said earlier, people think it's just we're in the bedroom with the couples and we're helping them with positions. It's like, oh, so much more than that. But they'll tune you out immediately if they have more of a judgmented or biased perspective. And that's the part I feel like is the hardest for me. I love what I do. I love helping people in this way because it's so unique. It's not your typical psychology and therapy or anything like that. This is core to communication, in my opinion. Yeah. And when people just automatically assume you're just helping with positions or a negative aspect or something, it's just like, oh, dang, I want to try and reach this person so they can understand. But if they're unwilling, it's just, I have to know for myself that what I do is valuable and I help people. But it's almost lonely, I guess. Yeah. Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, you're fine.
It's kind of lonely.
You're fine. I was just laughing at how different our experiences are, because when I share that I'm an intimacy coach, then immediately it's interesting, right? And it's like, oh, it's so exhausting being the most interesting person in the room. But it's like, but some people just want to keep talking about it. Some people are like, I need to know. How did you get here? What did you do? Who do you offer it to? And it's like, okay, you need to schedule an appointment because we're trying to have a party. And
Right.
and it's like polarizing because the person to their left might be like, oh, I don't want to hear anything about that. And then this other person is like pulling all these details out. And it's like, ooh. So
There's a time and a place, and then there's, oh, I hope I didn't offend the person, but
Yeah,
I really
right.
love what I do.
Yeah.
So maybe I help them open their mind a little.
and just say you're
But
an
I feel like
accountant, like everybody who does OnlyFans. That's what they do. I'm an
Oh my
accountant.
God.
Wink, wink.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
How about you? What's the most
Um,
challenging for you? Is it
Well, the most challenging thing for me is people who want shortcuts, right? People who are like, what's the secret? And that's really frustrating to me because the secret is like, be a good person. The secret is like, actually be vulnerable and actually show up and actually listen to your partner. And when people want shortcuts, it's kind of just like cheating, you know? Like I could try and give shortcuts and it's just not gonna lead to where they want it to. And so when somebody comes to me and is, asking for shortcuts, it feels like the last session, like I'm here to help people do the work. I'm here to be a partner in growth, right? And some people just don't want to grow at all. They just want the inside track. And I have to send them away because it's just not, I'm not a dating coach, right? I mean, I can coach you on skills that you need for dating. We can work on that, but I'm not gonna give you like pickup artist stuff. It isn't it. No, I'm the anti pickup artist. I would rather approach an attractive person, let them know how attractive they are, and walk away without asking for anything. Right.
I mean, that's so unselfish, and that's what makes you memorable. And yeah, that is a hard part too, when people just want the easy answer and you have to go, I'm sorry, I'm not the fairy godmother. There's no magic wand here. You've got to put in the work.
You say it's unselfish, but it makes my day when I tell somebody who's stunning that they're stunning and they love it. And like, I've done it in a way that they're not at all uncomfortable. I'm like, that was such a fucking win.
That's so awesome.
Just good vibes. Good vibes only, right? What about what kind of goals do you have? Like, I think we're both relatively junior in our careers, right? So are there any long-term goals or practice goals or anything like that you're excited about? Or
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm in Dr. Patty, who's the founder of SCU, where we met. I'm in her mastermind, and her first homework assignment for us was to build a vision statement of all our concrete goals. I want a beach house on a lake. I want 7-figure company. And I mean, yeah, you can have all these long-term goals for your practice, and I wrote them out. But the most important thing for me was I want to become the best at what I do in the fields that I love. So, such as kink and tantra and spirit and energy. I want to explore these everywhere, just like no untapped mines of information. And that's what I'm most excited about. That's my goal, is just to keep progressing on learning and doing more and more, because I want to offer more and more insight to my clients. I bought 8 new books yesterday.
yeah.
That's how much I love this. Like, I feel like that's my biggest goal, is I just want to keep learning and keep not isolating myself, but you find the avenues to which you're most drawn.
Yeah,
exactly, because you can't know everything.
Yeah, no, you can't know everything. You can't be everything to everyone.
Exactly. How about you? Any big goals? Any dreams?
I am burdened by dreams. I have like enough dreams that I have to be like selective, and so because if I try to do everything, it'll weigh me down and I'll never get anything done. I have the sort of accomplishment goal of I would love to move the practice to the beach, right? Like I want
Yeah.
right now the vision is like Marina Del Rey, like some condo, some high-rise condo with an ocean view. And so we're doing all you want to come for a session, you have to come down to Marina Del Rey, right?
Yeah.
Which would be a lot of fun and not too shabby of a crash pad, but like I have a lot of much closer term goals that I'm really excited about. I mean, there's the books I don't want to talk about yet, but there's also a research project that I'm starting on the topic, and so it's actually I'll give a little teaser here. If you get in touch with me, then you could potentially get 4 free sessions because we're investigating a methodology. And so we have to sort of see how well does the methodology work. And I'm very excited about that. I'm spending a lot of my time writing these days. Very exciting. I'm also really keen on making this actualization weekend kind of getaway experience, right? When I was young, my mother brought painting students to Italy, and so I got to travel the world as baggage, right? And I love that concept, and I have a small child myself, and I would love to bring him to other parts of the world, like I think they have there's Montreal Fetish Week. I would love to do like maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning of like classes and workshops. And then there's Fetish Weekend, so we all go to the dungeon and the different events, right? There's Folsom Berlin. I would love to do like workshops and cool stuff right before that big international event, and so you come and you get prepared for it, and so all these neophytes or people who are just learning can come to my classes and my workshops, and I'll bring other instructors, and then they'll feel really prepared for this like global scale fetish event, right?
That's wow. Global scale fetish event.
Yeah.
That is going to be intense. I want to be a part of that in any way I can, whether it's student or assistant coach or something, but man, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, wouldn't that be
awesome.
nice? I think the first step is Mexico, because I'm in Southern California. Mexico's not too far. Call it a destination, right? But I think the thing that really gets me is that there's this paradigm of, again, like you only get coaching when you're having a hard time. But I think that there's a different vibe where it's like things are going well, but I want them to go awesome, right? And so I really want to be able to show up for those people. And that's who I envision coming to these retreats. People who are doing well and are not experiencing dysfunction, but like really want the most excellent sex of their lives to happen regularly. So...
And who doesn't want that?
Right? Yeah, absolutely. If I'm hitting anything out of the park, it's the excellent sex department. So,
absolutely. Oh man, thank you, boyfriend.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do one more. So, who typically is your client? What do they seem like? What are your demographics? Psychographics.
My typical client is usually cisgender men or women.
Mm-hmm.
I am also a contracting dating coach for the attractive man.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a personal development company and for men specifically. And we help them with sexual shame, approach anxiety, insecurity. And so some of my clients, I'd say about 70% are cisgendered men. And then the rest are probably couples, cisgender couples. And it can range from sexual shame to exploring and anything outside of vanilla sex. I just took a couple to a sex shop for the first time just because they were so nervous. It was so overwhelming when they went by themselves and the service there wasn't exactly helpful to newbies. So I was like, okay, let's take it slow. Let's just walk through see what there is to see, and then we'll see what sparked your imagination when we walk through. And if it's too, quote, advanced, we'll start smaller, baby steps. Let's just start getting into it. See the excitement. That was a blast. I was just a chaperone. How cool.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. I love field trips. Field trip sessions are the best.
They are. Oh my gosh, what a blast. Especially when the partners are finally be able to communicate. I really want to start integrating X, Y, or Z. Can we? Sure, but I don't know how to do that. Field trip. Let's go.
Yeah, I love that.
Pumped.
I love that.
But yeah, mainly cisgender men and women is my demographic, and it can go from I've never experienced an orgasm to I orgasm too quickly, or body image issues. I mean, you name it. It's everything, because I mean, sex isn't just one kind. Even when you say kink, it's very, very broad. So my big thing is I will never yuck your yum. You can tell me, and if I don't feel I can help you, I will refer you to someone who can. And that's why I have a very big referral network, just in case I can't. I'm not going to yuck your yum, but if I can't, I know someone who will.
Yeah.
So that's my most important thing. How about you? What's your client base like?
I was going to say,
you must have a different one.
The little demon, the little devil on my shoulder was like, you won't yuck my yum? Like, let's get the list out. Let's see.
Let's go.
No.
I love it.
But my clients, I do also have cisgendered folks, but I also have trans folks, and I tend to attract women clients. I tend to get, if they're cisgendered and straight, they tend to be women. And then I do also work a lot with gay men, and I also work with trans folks, and I love the trans folks and the non-binary folks. It's there's so much bravery that is required to take that on, that I'm so happy that I can be there for them and for help them on their way.
Would you like private intimacy coaching? Perhaps you'd like to be a guest on our show. Either way, book your free 30-minute intro call with Ezra at AskEzra.info.
Let's now step back and we'll start our somatica, our somatic experience.
Okay. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I've never done one of these before. I actually was recommended during a sex coach global summit, and I was recommended to experience it to see if it can help me. I'm very analytical, so I'm always trying to evaluate what's
Perfect.
going on in my head.
Yeah, that's really helpful information. Great. Yeah, so we often talk about getting stuck in your head, right? And getting really analytical can take us away from those intimate moments, right? Like, am I doing it right? Is this I'm in the right position? Are they having fun? What's going on, right? So we can focus on the body. We can also focus on flow state, so getting in the zone, so to speak. I saw this presentation recently talking about hypofrontality. So the frontal cortex is like the front part of your brain. That's all your analytical kind of thinking and your social stuff. And when you get into exercise or you get into the zone, your body is allocating brain resources elsewhere. And so that chatter can be quieted by physical exercise, but also by really being in the zone, right? So have you had that experience of being in the zone?
Oh, 100%. From working out to scuba diving.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be focused.
Yeah. Well, let's use that as a touchstone, right? So we're going to get into our bodies, and we're going to do a somatic experience that's really focused. I really appreciate you're giving me that insight, because we're going to focus on getting into our bodies, right? And this is something that if you find yourself overthinking, if you find yourself thinking about the shopping list for tomorrow, right? Then these are some exercises that you can do in any moment to kind of bring you back to center, right?
Okay.
Bring you back into your body. So first, get comfortable. If you're sitting, find a comfortable place to sit. For me, that means sitting up a little bit.
Yep.
And you can close your eyes if you want to. You can also lower them to the floor or whatever you'd like to do. And just take a couple extra deep breaths. Just a little deeper than normal. And I want you to take your attention and focus it inward. So really feel your body. How does your butt feel in the chair?
You want me to tell you?
No. I want you to feel it. I want you to really focus on it. I'm going to do a lot of talking, and I'll ask you to respond when it's needed. But for now, just focus on your body and listen to the sound of my voice and follow the prompts. How does the skin feel in the air? How does your skin feel? Is there a taste in your mouth? Is there a smell in the air? What can you hear? And as you focus on your body, take a survey and ask yourself, where, if at all, am I holding tension? Where in my body needs my attention? If you're feeling tension in that space, just bring your awareness to it. Try to be compassionate in holding that tension. We want to be kind to ourselves. So we could go a lot longer and a lot deeper, but I want to come back to center, come back to the screen here today, and I want to check in with you and see how are you doing, what came up for you, and if anything, did you feel anything?
I felt tension in my face, actually. It was my jaw, like right underneath. When you said, where are you holding tension? And I was taking an inventory. I started with my toes and I worked my way up, and it was my face. So it was interesting. And I was like, what in the world? And just tried to sit with it and say, okay, what's going on? And it was, this is new. This is uncomfortable. You have your eyes shut on an interview.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So it was just a lot of uncomfortable feelings starting to come up, and it was resting in my face.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's super valuable to know, that if you're going to get stressed out, that's where it's going to happen. Or if maybe it's situational, this is not a stress-free environment, right? You have a camera pointed at you. You're not like totally isolated. So it could be something to do with that. It's, but the attitude is of compassion and mindfulness. So we want to say, oh, we're having that tension. I feel that in my face. There it is. I'm with it. I'm here for it, right? And so we're not pushing it away. We're not judging it. We're just being present with it. And one exercise I like to do is like finding your neutral, finding your baseline. And I would encourage you to sort of practice this again in a maybe less stressful situation. And do you feel that same feeling? And if every time you come to the table, you're like, okay, here, my shoulders are tense every time. They're like, okay, that's your baseline now, right? That's not an external stimulus that's creating that in this moment. Instead, it's the conditions of where your body is. And you can work to adjust that. You can work to loosen that. And sometimes there's thoughts that are big thoughts that like need to be processed that are creating that sensation. But one thing I would say is that the next step would be to come to baseline and then imagine some stimulus. right? So is that a positive stimulus? Is it a friend? Is it a lover? Is it a beloved family member? Or is it a negative stimulus? Is it somebody who doesn't get along with you? Is it a family member maybe you don't get along with? Maybe it's an ex. And then you sort of have to pick one thing to imagine, and then also watch how that affects your body. Does it increase the tension in your face? Does it create tension somewhere else? Right? Does it create openness? What does it create? Right? And so by getting a greater awareness of how our body reacts in these situations, we can be more mindful, and we can choose how to respond in the future. And another thing we can do is when we feel like that tension, we can just imagine it washing away. Imagine it as like wax on your cheeks, and you're heating it up and it's just melting away. And by like visualizing that relaxation, you can encourage that sensation to actually occur.
Never imagined wax on my cheeks before melting away. That's
Sure.
a whole new thing to.
Or, maybe imagine you got your cheeks full of air, and you blow bubbles, and all the bubbles go away as stress. Like whatever visualization is helpful for you. But yeah, and then
Okay.
what we did is we were like looking at our senses, right? We're just observing our senses. And by observing our senses, we take the focus off of observing our thoughts, right? And getting stuck in our head is getting in these like thought loops, right? So
Yep.
when you, like, let's say, for example, to use this exercise during sex, right? You can bring yourself back into your body by focusing on sensation, right? So let's say you're in the middle of sex and you go, well, this particular part feels really nice, or I really like this rhythm, or boy, the air is smelling very sweet with our combined sweat and whatnot, right? And by focusing on a sensation, you are creating less focus on the thoughts, if that makes sense.
So you're just becoming more in tune with how your body is responding to what's happening, and not thinking so much of, oh my gosh, the air smells different. Is he having a good time? Is he over concerned about it too? And then you start getting into your feedback loops, and then you stop enjoying yourself. It's kind of coming back to center, going, oh my gosh, there's a tingling in my toes, or it stings my ass, or whatever it is. It's coming back to the sensations throughout
Exactly.
you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's being more present, right? If I'm thinking about the grocery list, I'm less present.
Absolutely. If you're thinking about the next position or the next anything, something else other than what you're doing, you're not invested in what you're doing, and you're probably giving a half-assed performance too.
Yeah, well,
that
that sounds like judgment, and we want to steer clear of that. It's not as
Right.
good as it could be, right? It's not it's not optimal, right?
Right.
Not to say it's necessarily bad. They could be really enjoying themselves while you're thinking about which type of eggs you want to buy.
That's a good point. Eggs are important. I love a good scrambled egg.
Yeah. So that was kind of two exercises together, right? One is like finding that place for your consciousness in your body, and the other one was like taking a survey of how you're feeling, right? And you can, again, the third sort of step that we could have taken is to create this imaginary external stimulus and observe how does that show up in our body. And then that will give us information so we can be really well prepared next time, right?
Yeah. Oh, so you could do it even like you were saying with a positive or a negative, and see where your body is responding to positive and negative. For when actually positive and negative things may be happening, you can go, oh, you know what? This isn't excitement. This is actually fear, because it's happening, in my chest or in my gut.
Yeah.
Or this is excitement because I feel a tingle in my toes or in my fingers. And that's when I notice good things. So you can start calibrating your situations.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like body literacy, right? So we become literate in our own bodies. And when we can identify what's happening, we can be smarter about it, and we can respond instead of react, right? And there's a thing that happens where you try to escape a challenging emotion, right? Like, oh, this is scary, I'm going to hide from it, right? The old there's a ghost in the corner, I'm going to pull the sheets over my head, right? And what happens is that it works. You effectively can pull yourself away from an emotion. However, it doesn't work with one emotion alone. It works with all of them at once. And so when you hide from fear, you hide from joy. When you hide from sadness, you hide from gratitude, right? And so the way to experience these things fully is to be not selective and to really lean into all feelings, right? And we are all different. We may find ourselves shying away from joy, right? Because if we experience it too deeply, it will go away or something, right? So we don't always just escape those good feelings, but you want to really be in them. And that's going to really improve your intimacy, because feeling those feelings and being fully present for those feelings is what makes intimacy magical.
Wow, that's really incredible. I've never experienced that before, or just taking a mental body inventory.
Yeah.
Just at a more balanced state too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I'm supposed to be balanced. Where do I feel any tension?
Yeah.
And then loving it.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. That was really incredible.
Well, and I like you say, loving it, right? Because if we can come to ourselves with compassion, like if we could treat ourselves like a puppy, like you wouldn't shame a puppy, you wouldn't guilt trip a puppy. So why are you doing it to you, right? And so can you take that same compassion? Like, I love this visualization technique of imagining your emotion comes in to the room and it is a puppy or a baby, and so how are you going to treat it now? Because that is just demonstrating that as humans, we're all capable of compassion. It's hardwired. It's instinctual. And so can we access that and resource that and use that to actually care for ourselves with that compassion?
Yeah, we can show it to others, but when it comes to ourselves,
it's harder.
We're all for judgment, all for negative, unless we really take the time and be like, you know what? I love me for this. I'm really sad right now. I heard a really horrible story. My dad was recounting some of his district prosecutor stories to me, and one of them really shocked me to my core. Like, it scared me. It was awful. And I started sobbing. And him and my boyfriend were like, it didn't happen to you. Why are you so sad? And they were chastising me almost about feeling the way I was feeling. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making people uncomfortable. I got to stop. But I couldn't. And it was such a whirlwind of trying to appease other people, making people comfortable, and then feeling, well, what am I going to do with all this feeling that I'm feeling? Like, everything that was coming up. And from what you're saying, and from that experience, I had nothing to be ashamed of. That's how I was responding.
Yeah.
And to have responded fully to it and loved myself, even though I was probably making people uncomfortable, that I was crying, or even making myself maybe uncomfortable that I was crying. If I had loved myself instead, I wouldn't have closed myself off further.
Yeah.
Because each time you do it, it probably closes yourself off a little more to feeling different emotions.
Well, and the irony of it is, when you say, okay, I'm going to not feel sad, you make it last longer. Right? If I'm afraid of the ghost in the corner of the room and I put my sheets over my head, then the ghost never goes away. Right? It's only when you confront it, it's only when you look the ghost in the eye that it goes away. And so the irony is, if you sought to hide or conceal or shush away your emotions, you actually were likely to prolong them. And they might even pop up another time. You're not expecting it. You're watching some commercial and all of a sudden you're weeping, and it's, where the hell is this coming from? It's because you didn't let yourself cry before.
Wow. That's really interesting. I never thought about that. Wow.
Yeah, well, and I don't want to get too much into it, but it also sounds like people pleasing. It also sounds like, you've got an emotion and somebody else is reacting to that emotion, and your priority shifts to caring for them. But they're adults, right? So those are their emotions, and it's their job to deal with those emotions, and it's your job to deal with your emotions, right? And if you sacrifice your own attention for your own self, then you're missing an experience.
Beautifully and eloquently said, Ezra.
Thank you. I do what I can. And it's not with any judgment that I point that out. I think I dealt with a lot of people pleasing in my past. I really, I was really attracted to like codependent relationships where I was like, okay, I'm going to worry about your feelings and you worry about my feelings. And that does, I mean, it's a good game to play. It's a fun game to play. I love to do that in scene, but it doesn't make a life. It makes, it makes survival sometimes, but it doesn't make thriving.
Yes. And the one thing I've learned over the past year is only I can help myself survive. I'm the one who has to look out for me. I'm the one who has to love me first. Nobody else is going to do it. Yes, we have family. We have people who care about us and support us. But at the end of the day, who do I have? I have me.
Yeah.
And if I don't love me, I can't expect anybody else to love me. I can't expect somebody else to take care of me. I want to have to take care of me first.
Yeah. And there's so many definitions of love, and I choose to use the verb, right? Love is an action. So you treat yourself with love. And that way it's not binary. It's not like, do I love myself? Do I not love myself? It's like, how well do I love myself? How well do I care for my own emotions, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm learning so much today. Just a whole different viewpoint. I love this.
Yeah. That'll be $189. I'm just kidding.
All right, let me get the credit card.
Well, it was lovely having you. Thank you so much, Nora. What can people do to get a hold of you or to get engaged with you, or what's going on?
I have a website. It's called Be Sexcessful. So SEX, not SEC. And you can find me on Facebook at Be Sexcessful. That's basically all my tags on social media. And I teach on Thursdays with Ike Shahada. We teach, currently the book we're teaching is The Way of the Superior Man. We're just going through and offering perspectives from wealth and development and success to intimacy, sexuality, and a female perspective. So we're just going through the book chapter by chapter. We always look forward to people asking questions and bringing new perspectives in. Because, that's the point of reading a book, right? Expand your horizons. So
Fantastic.
We love input. So Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. If you guys ever want to tune in, it's on Clubhouse and Instagram. Just follow one of us and we pop onto Instagram Live and teach.
Awesome. Fantastic. We'll put those links in bio so people can click on it if they'd like to get in touch with you.
Thanks for watching the Ask Ezra Intimacy Coaching Podcast. Support our show at patreon.com/AskEzra. Join us at the personal growth tier and receive a special thank you on the next podcast episode. A very special thank you to both Sarah Nash and Deb Matson for being Patreon supporters at the personal growth tier and helping make the Ask Ezra Intimacy Coaching Podcast possible.